All right, Grizz Nation, we are back.
Let's do it, baby.
Let's do this. We are live, and we are back, guys. We are going to just a little rundown of what we're going to do. We're going to do a Weber State preview. We're going to recap the devastating, heartbreaking loss to Sac State, and then do our predictions. Kind of do some fan questions, and that's what we're going to do. But hey, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast wherever you have a podcast platform. Apple, Spotify, great places. Rate us there. Also, we have joined a awesome YouTube channel, FCS Fans Nation YouTube channel. They have a lot of great content, a whole lot better than us, with guys that really know their stuff. So if you want something, branch out, find a new team. That's a good place to kind of explore. But go check them out and subscribe to the channel as well. Angel, how you doing, man?
You know what? Probably still drunk from this weekend's endeavor. To be honest with you, I'm okay, man. I'm doing all right. We're gonna be okay. We have some stuff to talk about today. But as always, we are gonna start it off with a Grizz update. So, Adam, get rolling with it.
Grizz update. We got some big things for Grizz update, man. Some seasons are kind of winding down.
Yeah.
And so it is a busy time of year. Give a shout out to men's and women's cross country. They are in the Big Sky Conference Championships this weekend in Cheney. Is it Cheney or Cheney?
I think it's Cheney. I'm pretty sure it's Cheney. Yeah.
I'll just call it Cheney just to piss them off. Washington. So, give a shout out to them. Make us proud. And our next one, man. I know we've gone over this. It's happening right now as we speak. Wish I could be there. Maroon and silver scrimmage for both the men and the women's basketball programs. The women's is at 5. The guys is at 7. So if you are listening to this tomorrow, you've missed it. But if you're there, hey, tell us how it was. We want to hear from you. How was the maroon and silver scrimmage? Get in contact with us on Twitter and Instagram. We want to know how it was. And we'll read your tweets or texts or whatever on the next episode. So give us a shout out. So can't wait for basketball season. Angel, me and you, we're totally different species. I grew up playing basketball and football. You grew up playing football and soccer, football and football.
Football and football. That's fair enough. Funny enough, my first passion, I mean, I love football. I'm completely obsessed with it, but I have just as equally as a passion for wrestling. So okay. I grew up wrestling too. So those are probably two sports. But yeah, man, I mean, super exciting. There's a lot of expectations for these two teams, especially coming off of last year. So yeah, good luck to them, man. I can't wait to hear all about it.
Yeah, yes, definitely. We'll keep you updated on that too. We'll do a Grizz basketball preview as well. So that will drop soon. But soccer, man, soccer is winding down. They made it to the Big Sky Conference tournament. Not all the teams get to that point. I believe they take the top 6. We just made that as the 6th seed. We will be playing Wednesday tomorrow. As you're listening to this, probably that day if you're listening on Wednesday. They play Portland State at 11 a.m. in Greeley, Colorado. If they win, they will be playing Idaho, which I believe is the 2 seed. And so hopefully, Coach C and Lady Grizz Soccer can kind of pull out some magic. It's happened before where they've done a streak and they have played their best this time of year and made it to the national championship tournament. So give a shout out to them. We're rooting for you hard, and yeah, I wish those games were at night, not 11 a.m., so that I could actually watch them. That's the only thing about these conference tournaments things is all the games are like 11-1 when people are at work.
Yeah, and that's the tough part about it. You would think that like if they had an afternoon showing that you get a little bit more, kind of people in the stands.
Yeah.
But you never really know. At the same time, that's a tough thing to kind of accommodate as an athlete, just having to play consistently
Yep.
6, 7, 8 o'clock games. By the time you know it, you got a class the next morning, got to be up for 5:45 workouts for whatever reason. And so it's kind of a give or take thing, man. As a fan, I wish it was, but as an athlete too, I understand completely. But that's the cool part about this team and this coaching staff is that you never count them out. Like you
Yeah.
said, consistently every single year, they always have a shot. They
Yep.
always do. And
Yep.
so, yeah, man, I'm looking forward to hearing how it turns out.
Exactly. Women's tennis, they are at the Gonzaga Invitational in Spokane, Washington this Friday through Sunday. So
Hmm.
good luck, ladies, with that. And I forgot to volleyball. Sorry, volleyball. They are in the closing areas of their year. They are at Eastern Washington and at Idaho Thursday and Saturday. So you
Hmm.
guys can check those games out on ESPN Plus. And what's nice about those is because they're on ESPN Plus, you don't have to be there at 7 o'clock or 2 o'clock. You can always go on to the on-demand section and watch those whenever you want. So it's not bad of an investment for a month. It's like $7, $8, $9, and you get the whole Big Sky conference. So it's it's a good investment.
Yeah, I hate to tell everybody, but I just steal Adams. That's
There
how
you
I
go.
basically do my weekly thing. So if you got a couple buddies, hopefully we don't get in trouble for saying that. But if you
Yeah,
got a
you
couple
probably
buddies
shouldn't
that
have
may
said that,
have
dude.
ESPN Plus, reach out to them, get their login, and you'll be good.
Yeah, we're gonna get in trouble now.
Yeah, probably.
All right, man. That's Grizz updates, buddy. That
Yeah,
is Grizz
perfect.
updates.
Well, let's move on by, man. We're gonna spend this first part of the podcast really kind of breaking down as best as we can, obviously from a
Yeah.
fan perspective, kind of what unraveled this past weekend. Obviously, we traveled to Sacramento to play Sacramento State, which was what were they at? They were ranked number 2, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they were ranked number 2 in the country, and it was a hard fought loss. It really, really was.
Yep.
It was a game of inches. If you really kind of want to dumb it down to one sentence. And there was a couple of things that went our way. There was a couple of things that didn't go our way. Majority didn't go our way.
Yeah.
And so let's do a little breakdown quarter by quarter before we start reviewing. So first quarter, we scored 7. Second quarter, we got up 10. Third quarter, another 7, and ended off the game with another touchdown, 2, and they ended up scoring a 0. This was the first time I think the announcer was telling me, or was not telling me, but telling everybody that this was the first time that Sac State has trailed in a game.
Yep.
So they scored 0 in the first quarter, 7 in the second quarter, held them to 0 again in the third quarter, and then they had a pretty stellar fourth quarter in order to come back and get the W in a overtime win against us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess what are your initial thoughts, Adam? What did you kind of think of the game? What
Well,
are your
yeah,
emotions, actually? That's a better question. How are you
dude. Well,
feeling?
how I it's a weird emotion. Like I'm up and I'm down. I'm pissed off. Um, I can't imagine those players. Like you said, this is the first time that they trailed and they played. Colorado State, which is not saying much right now because they're an FBS bottom dweller, but still an FBS team. They the Grizz led the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
The whole game until the last 30 seconds or minute, whatever, 2 minutes where they tied it. Man, you know, we'll get to the why they won. It's not necessarily why they won, but it did affect the momentum, and it was non-related to play. Is the other side, but just to give a shout out, I have to give a huge shout out to the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
And Angel and I talked about this before we started. I saw the offensive line turn a corner.
Mm-hmm.
And that we and I know I have always said, the offensive line will take us where we want to go. It
Mm-hmm.
kind of depends on them. They were all sorts of nasty, man.
Yeah.
And I loved seeing that. I love seeing Liam Brown back. I'm glad that he was back. But they were making holes. They're making that front line of Sac State pay. And which is awesome to see. I would like them to keep on building off of that and keep on having
Yeah.
that same determination. So offensive line, I was so proud. I was, and also Nick Osmo, Marcus Knight, man, they played the hearts out, man. And
Yeah.
it was, I feel bad for Lucas Johnson getting hurt, because that first series, even the second series when he got hurt, we were moving the ball, we were cruising, and for something to take a detour like that when he gets hit, uh, first of all, I wish his health is okay. That's the
Mhm.
first and the
I
most
think he
important.
was okay. I saw him on the sidelines. I mean, you
Yeah,
saw it during the replays, or not the replays, but just video of him on the
yeah,
sideline, and he looked to be in pretty good spirits. He looked to be coaching a little bit too, which was
a
optimistic.
good thing.
It put me in a place of comfort to to kind of let me know that I think he's going to be okay. I just think he took a major shot, and it was too much of a gamble to put him back out there. I mean, especially out the controversy that's happened this past year in the NFL with Tua. I don't know if you
Yeah,
guys been keeping up with that, but it's one of those things. I mean, it's to save the ass as a university.
oh
No
yeah,
matter how much we want him to be out there, because I'm sure he was like, "Hey, put me back in. I'll be okay." But it's one of
yeah,
those things you never want to risk it. You never know what's going to
no,
happen. I've seen some people, really hurt themselves. Just continuously banging that head, concussion after concussion, forced a couple retirements. I've seen some bad things on the field, and so because of that, I think it was the right move to make. No matter how much we wanted him to be back in there,
yeah,
I think looking back on it, and I think I saw, just right after the game, I had a couple of reporters asking Bobby a question just about the game in general and Chris Brown's performance. And I agree with him. He used the word admirable.
hmm
When I look back on it, I 100% agree, especially in a game like this with so much pressure. Obviously him being the number two, he gets those reps, but it's just not the same as being a
no,
starter. You don't get that same type of practice. And so because of that, for what he did and how we tried to lead the team to a W, I mean, I can't be mad at the kid. I can't fault him at all. You know what I mean?
no.
I think
Well,
he's
and let's kind of go over that, because so let's go over Chris Brown gets thrust into this position, right? Lucas Johnson goes down.
well,
Um,
let's even bracket a little further. I
okay,
need to touch on this. Number
yeah,
46 on sack state, 100%. I thought that was dirty.
oh yeah,
100%.
yeah,
Looking out on it, I mean, a couple plays beforehand, I think you saw him, make another pass play, and really, the camera was focused on the ball going downfield, but
yep,
you saw him in the background, and you saw him take a shot, and it was
hmm
the exact same situation that how he got taken out. The dude
yep,
lowered his head, and you can clearly tell that he was leading with the head as well too. So
yep,
because of that, it kind of led me to believe that, hey, this kid was out to kind of hurt the quarterback or prove something.
yep,
So when it came down to it, it was I think it was third down conversion. I think he was trying to go for a first down, and then all of a sudden, bam,
yep,
straight to the head. I mean, just going back over the replay, it was disgusting to see. And a
yep,
lot of people talk about, well, football's not what it is or what it used to be for those specific reasons. You
hmm
know, they're
yep,
doing their things, and rules and regulations are changing in order to kind of protect the player as opposed to what it used to be back in the day, because
yeah,
you could seriously hurt somebody like that. And especially when you think about the longevity of an athlete, um, a lot of people run into problems in their older age. So because of that, I was pissed off, man. That's probably the one thing that I was just like, football's football. Don't get me wrong. I'm willing to play tough. I'm willing to bang heads with the best of them. Don't get me wrong with that, you know.
yeah,
But
yeah,
there's a way to do it. There's a right way to do it, and that was not the right way. So 100%, man. I mean, that was a scary thing to see.
yeah,
You
it
saw,
was,
I mean, two defenders. He was already coming down. This dude comes in for an extra cheap shot, and before you know it, we're down a quarterback when he was playing phenomenally. And the thing about Lucas Johnson, when he's on, he's destruction. You know what I
oh
mean?
yeah,
To
yep,
opposing defenses.
yep,
We've seen flashes of that throughout the year where he's got into a hot start, and he's played really consistent, really good football, really good reads,
yep,
really good decision making, and kind of how we termed it last year with Cam, the general of the field. You saw
exactly,
that.
yep,
And then you see these highs and these lows, and then you come to a game like this, which so much is on the line after a devastating loss against Idaho, and you can only sit there and say, "Damn, wasn't supposed to play out like that."
yeah,
You sit here and you think about the what ifs and the couldas and the would ifs, but at the end of the day, I think bringing Chris in and having him, have an opportunity to win the game. That's all you can ask for.
yeah,
Especially on Strickstein quarterback. I mean, we know that he's a dog. You know that he's willing to go fight out there, and that's what I love about him. That tenacity that he has. So, but like you said, man, I mean, you made a comment. The offensive line. This was a new level of competitive that I seen out of them. This was a new
Exactly.
level of nastiness, you know what I mean, and aggression, and even as far as the communication, you can tell before the plays you hear, kill, 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 56 or 46 or this number, that number. So you saw a new level of communication, of nastiness, of grit, and that's exactly what we want out of the Montana football program, and we
Yep.
saw that.
Yep.
And he gave Chris time, he gave Chris opportunities where he didn't feel had to be too stressed back there to try to make a play on it. I think he was scared to run a little bit, you
Yeah.
know,
You
kind of
kind of
took
saw that
those
in
uphill.
the first
Yeah,
quarter, and then he got kind of used to it and kind of
yeah,
used his legs a little bit more in the second
yeah.
half.
And it worked out to his advantage. And I think just because the offensive line helping him provide that comfort and that trust to let you know, hey, we got you.
Yeah.
You make the decisions. We'll do whatever we can to hold them back. And
Yeah.
so we saw a little bit about that, when it comes to Chris.
Well, and going into the Chris, like the fans, like we've got to remember that these are kids, right? These are
Yeah,
these are these are young men that are playing a game, right? We're not involved in the game. You can be passionate, but you don't need to degrade these players. And Chris did his best. He is a true player, true competitor, and what I have heard is an ultimate just good guy, right? Um, and so the first quarter, when he was thrusted into this position, I think you're gonna see some rust, right? It's not like where you start a game and a lot of the plays are, you're scripted, right? He's thrusted into a position where he's going to be having to kind of learn what they're doing, kind of feel out what's happening, and he kind of did that. He had a couple drives where they're like, ooh. And if you were on Twitter, Grizz Nation started saying, "Oh, put in the backup, put it," and that's all fine, and you can be a fan and whatnot. But I was proud of him and how he, in that second half, kind of took over. They
yeah,
started using him in a way where getting him a little bit more comfortable and throwing those quick passes over the middle.
yeah.
And he started feeling a little bit more comfortable and using his legs because he's a big guy. He didn't turn over the ball. He didn't throw any interceptions. And so, I, the only
What
thing
more? Yeah. What more
the
can you ask of him? You know what I
exactly,
mean?
and
Yeah.
it's not his fault. Like ultimately, my thing is I feel, and you guys can get on me and whatever. I feel like the coaching staff has not done enough to develop the quarterback position. Last year, they hurt Chris because I feel like they were dumbing down the playbook and not using him in his strengths. And ultimately, that's what Bobby said is we're not going to change at halftime. We're not going to change what we do to be able to fit for a quarterback. Well, I think that's ridiculous. I think you have to. If it's your backup quarterback, you've got to be able to make him feel comfortable back there, and you've got to change things. You've got to
Mm-hmm.
change to the quarterback that you have there and change some things.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that they've properly developed some of the quarterbacks, and I think that will farther down the line will hurt us. Maybe not this year, but maybe next year. And I'm getting off track, but um, and I wanted to kind of go over that just because I think that yeah, he's still developing into a quarterback. He's still learning. He's had some places where he has had to learn, and the places he's gotten thrown into were after someone has gotten hurt, right? He
Mm-hmm.
hasn't had a fall camp where hey, you're the quarterback going into it, right? You are our guy. He didn't get the cream puffs in the beginning of the year where he could get his confidence high. He
Mm-hmm.
got thrown into James Madison. He got thrown into last year where we were Cam got hurt, and then this year. So I think you have to take it with a grain of salt. Our offensive line played amazing. Our running
Mm-hmm.
backs, they showed out. They were beasts, and I really feel like we in the first quarter, second quarter, first half, we turned them over, man, and it was so awesome to see our defense. Yeah, if you look at the stats, they're gonna be like, "Whoa, they got a lot of yards." Well, yeah, they got a lot of yards, but that offense is going to get a lot of yards. They
Yeah, I mean
are,
they're traditionally a 500-yard plus offense.
yeah,
I
and they
mean,
got
you look at this Grant.
479. So,
Yeah, 479. I mean, so even holding them under that, I mean, because when you look at the numbers, they're, 580,
yep,
560, 520. You know what I mean? So
yep,
consistently, and they're blowing out teams, 50 something
yep,
to, single digits, maybe low double digits. And so because of that, you see that attitude change. And when you look at the grand scheme of things and how the actual defense play, they played lights out, really.
yep,
Besides a couple minor mistakes or minor mistakes, as far as PI holds and those sort of things and penalty calls and I mean, to be expected, but for the most part, it was pretty clean. It
yeah,
was a pretty clean. I saw the pressure. I just think that he's part, or I think their quarterback says they have a two quarterback system, that they're part of a quarterback system that allows them to just get out of it really quickly, and
hmm
they have those guys to make those plays. And so sometimes you come down with the 50-50 ball, sometimes you don't. So, but really, the grand scheme of things, I mean, there were 14 points in three quarters. They scored the bulk of the points in the fourth quarter. So
yep,
when you look at it, you got to take that in consideration. It wasn't like they were running all over us and we were playing catch up. It was quite the opposite and quite the contrary. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yep,
And so because of that, it's a whole different feel. But I mean, just going back to the Chris situation, man. I mean, 100%. I agree with what you said. In a lot of ways, it is one of those type of things that every play is a little bit different.
hmm
You got to play in the scheme of things, but obviously tweak it to your own liking, to your own benefit. I mean, whether it be offensive line position, wide receiver, you can't mimic the next guy up.
no,
So because of that, I don't necessarily think it's a bad idea to be able to kind of gravitate toward the strengths of a specific quarterback.
yeah,
But it is a hard thing because you start changing the script.
yeah,
So you start to beg the question of, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, is that if you start flipping the switch or changing the whole structure of a game plan, what does that do to the rest of the team? Because
yeah,
they practice a certain way, are they going to be able to handle that? And so obviously that's up for speculation. You can argue that all the time. But I would like to see something like that, because
yeah,
I think this was the first time since I've known Chris that I really seen kind of huge growth, because
hmm
majority of
yep,
the time you see him make some of those bigger mistakes. You see him, commit maybe give up an interception here and there. And so just being able to see him lead a team against this type of caliber team, you know,
yep.
I think he did everything he could in his power, and it's just a stepping stone to learning lesson. And but this one hurt, man. Compared to
Yeah.
last week, compared to the Idaho game, I thought I was hurting the Idaho game, just from a fan perspective.
hmm
Oh, this week was devastating to lose it in the fashion that they did. You know what I
Well,
mean?
yeah, and it was, we were winning the whole game. The only thing that I think we didn't capitalize off of is we had the ball four times in the 30-yard line. In that first half, we got 10 points. When you are in the, not necessarily in the red zone, but close to the red zone, you've got to turn those chances into points. We didn't, and that wound up to be the game. Also, just some errors that we keep on happening, and with the onside kick, I I I don't understand. And maybe you can let us know, Angel. The last four games, right? Four games we have had something on the special teams where we've lost balls. The last two games we have gotten taken advantage on the onside kicks. I know that not necessarily this one was supposed to be a onside kick, which it kind of looked like it was a squib and they just kicked it right at somebody and it bounced off. But we can't keep on making these same mistakes and think that we're going to get a different result, right?
Yeah, that's where you get into the
That's
three phases. Yeah, that's where you get into
yeah,
the three phases of the game. Obviously, you have offense, you have defense. Bobby is known to be, an extremely good coach when it comes to special teams. He's been pretty consistent throughout these years, but this year it's a little bit different.
yeah,
I think there's some people coming into the roles, and obviously you can't just blame completely. There's a little bit to blame of, the players and the coaches when it really comes down to it. Making sure that. But I really just think it's a timing thing, man. I just think they need
yeah,
to get a little bit more efficient with it when it comes to like those field goals, the squib kicks, or the onside kicks and the squib kicks. This week, I just think it was timed the right way, man. I
yeah,
think that it was timed the right way. It was one of those things that we had our pants down and we didn't expect it. I didn't expect it coming into that, watching it happen and unfold. I was like, oh shit, they're going for it. You know what I mean? And so, but
yeah,
100%, I know Bobby is just tearing up the walls right now, trying to figure out what he can do in order to be a little bit better, because that's obviously the name of the game. You improve every single week, and once we come down, obviously we saw it this past weekend, but once you play those really good teams, let's just say in December, when the
Yep.
games really matter,
Yep.
and it comes down to a couple missed field goals and a couple onside kicks, that is going to be the game changing because you're going to be playing against teams that have, prolific offenses. You're going to be
Yep.
playing against teams that have really, really, really stout defenses,
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
because of that, where's that third phase? Where do we get that advantage? Where do we get that edge? And that's where special teams comes into play, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just one of those things where I know Bobby is working hard to kind of resolve it, but it's one of those things you're like, dang man, dang, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Well, and just to kind of go into like, we held their massive beast of a running back to under what he runs. I think he got over a little over 100 yards, but he's averaging what, like
He's
120,
a good
130.
player. He is a really good
As a
player.
sophomore, man, he's going to be a beast.
Yeah.
Really like watching him play, not against us, but
You know what?
um,
I actually felt quite the contrary, man. I thought it was super exciting to see, a pretty formidable, obviously a really formidable defense against, a high level player. That
yeah.
guy, if he keeps on this track, he'll be playing on Sundays for sure.
Oh,
You
I
know,
think so too. I
I
don't
think a
totally.
lot of even like a lot of his yards, were after contact,
Yep.
and
Yep.
so it's just amazing to see that type of player in that type of light, and just being able to have the chance to play against him, because it's one of those things that as defenses, the mindset over there is, hey, we hope we get those guys week in
Yeah.
and week out. It's only
Yeah.
going to make us better, sharpen iron with iron. So it's one of those things where, I mean, it was impressive, and which goes back to what I said on the defensive side of things. Besides just minor errors, here and there, for the most part, I thought they played lights out,
Yeah.
as best to their ability against the number 2 team in the country with, a really prolific offense that scores, genuinely within 2 minutes. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's what's crazy, And give a shout out. And before I go I'll just go into that. But they're scoring. They scored fast, man.
Yeah.
They're 3 plays, 75 yards, 1 minute 9 seconds, touchdown. 4 plays, 55 yards, 1 minute 25 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go in the second half. They got a field goal, 8 plays, 2 minutes 48 seconds for 66 yards. 8 plays, 52 yards, 2 minutes 14 seconds, touchdown. And then their last one was only 25 yards, but it only took a couple seconds, maybe 30, 40 seconds. So probably going to be the best prolific offense that we probably see all year round. I don't think that we'll see anything besides that's more prolific, that can score on you at any moment. But man, our rushing attack, Nick Osmo, 20
Yeah, he was
attempts,
killing it. They're beast.
76 yards. Marcus Knight, 22 for 61. Man, they were running the ball. The offensive line was running the ball. It looked like old school football. But we've got to go over it. We went over the, Chris Brown, the quarterback situation. We've gone over the onside kick situation. We've got to go over the fourth quarter controversial, not a catch by
He was out.
oh my
He was
gosh,
out.
seriously.
I don't understand in anybody's right mind. I mean, from
No,
every angle that I saw, there was no angle that gave me the, oh well, maybe he's in, you
no,
know.
yeah,
And I'm not a ref, you
no,
know. I mean, I played the game, I understand the game, and in those situations, it's kind of hard to see how things go. So, from a fan perspective, I mean, we had 5, 6 cameras on him that showed every single one of them. As soon as he had possession of the ball, he was out of bounds.
yeah,
There was no question about it, and they went on to score on that drive too. So think
exactly.
about the implications of that. When you
Well,
think about it,
and
we had a couple
when it
missed field
happened,
goals. Yeah,
when it
when it
happened,
happened.
3 minutes left in the game, right? They didn't,
Yeah.
and that was a fourth down conversion. That was a
Hmm.
fourth down where we would have had the ball back with 3 minutes. The way that we were running the ball, we would have cut maybe 2 minutes off there,
That's what's
maybe gotten a
frustrating,
field
man.
goal, maybe gotten a touchdown, maybe, and
Yeah.
punted it and made them actually have to do something, right?
Wholeheartedly believe, man, if we stuck to the
Yeah,
run game, in a situation like that, 100%, we would have been able to run out the clock.
yeah,
The
yep,
way that they were running, the way that they were folding him over at that point of the game, it's balls to the walls. Excuse me, it's really to see what you're made of.
yep,
And as an offensive line, being able to play the game, when you see that the run game is established, I mean, you get an extra, you get some dopamine in you,
oh
you
yeah,
know, It's exciting. You're on the sideline. You're telling everybody, let's continue running the ball. Give me the ball. Give us the ball. Let us do
Yep.
this. So because of that, it just makes you want it more. You
Yeah.
know, I don't know what it is about the run game, but as soon as you execute, consistent run games, it does something to the offensive line. It does something to the offense in general that just creates such this heavy and this great momentum. I just want to keep rolling with it. And I wholeheartedly believe that we would have been able to finish out the game in those situations. But obviously, for whatever reason, it didn't go that way, which is
No.
mind blowing. There was a lot of people. I mean, everybody on the feed, on our Twitter feed,
Oh
everybody
yeah.
was talking shit about it. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
Because it was blatantly out. I mean,
Oh, it
I
was
know some people
blatantly
that
out.
reached out to the commissioner and they said, "Hey, we just don't have those abilities because the camera angles." And all this bullshit. You guys make so much money, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Well,
I,
and they say that they only have like there's a rule, right? So there's a Big Sky rule where every institution has to use the same angles, right? So they have
mm-hmm,
the same angles for every game, right? To be fair,
mm-hmm,
right? Well, this is a high priority game where you're on ESPN2. Whenever that happens, you should be getting their views. You should
yeah.
be getting their angles, not getting the shitty Big Sky conference, angles that we got. The grainy feed where it's back in the 70s and 80s. You should be getting ESPN quality. And if that's not in our bylaws of our contract for these games, somebody needs to get fired because that's BS right there.
I think
That
so
should
too, man.
that
I think so
that should
too.
be in the contract that, hey, if you want two of our high quality games, we get the feed from it so that we can use it on replays, because if that's true, somebody made a huge mistake. Huge
I
mistake.
mean, detrimental. Obviously, I've said this multiple times. This game of inches, and when you have something like that in such a tight game,
Yeah.
where the pressure's up, and you leave it up to the refs. I mean, I've been part of a couple games where I left it up to the refs, and they've made the mad decision multiple times.
Yeah.
But none like this. None
No.
like this. That was so blatant. That was so obvious that it was a no brainer. I mean, even the fact that they took so long to review Font's touchdown. I
Well,
was
yeah,
just
and
like,
then
hey, I
if
was
they
just
can
like,
see that one, why can't they see the
I
other
was just like,
one?
I mean, what's the difference? You clearly see that he's inbounds, that he has possession of the ball. Clear intent. There's no, well, fobbing the ball. Like
Yeah.
he has possession of it. On
Yeah.
the contrary, on the other side, I mean, maybe a little bit tighter coverage from Dawson, but I mean, he was out. I mean, there's nothing else that you can do on the defender side of things. Given
Yeah.
the circumstances against such a talented team, and so I don't know, man. It just left me sitting here, kind of questioning the integrity of some of those refs. You know.
Well, in the pass interference call, like I understand, like I think it was Dawson when with one of the players that they were kind of hand grabbing, right? And
Mm-hmm.
in the end zone, they got called for a pass interference. Totally get that call, right? Totally get that call. You can't hand check after what the 5 yards or whatever. Totally get that. You can't do that. But if you're going to call that, you should be calling a pass interference on that last play where you see the cornerback legitimately extend his arm and push, no matter if it is a trip or whatever. You see him extend his arm to get the proper angle of getting the ball.
Mm-hmm.
You if you're going to call it, you got to call it fair both ways. And some of
Exactly.
those calls were not fair both ways. And you can say, well, yeah, Montana got some of the calls too. Yeah, we got some calls that were favored us, but not when it was a pivotal moment of the game,
And I
which
mean, and
totally changed the game.
and that's what people need to understand.
Yeah,
That it's situational for sure.
yeah,
Every single call is situational, because one game you can see the exact same thing happen and not be called. But so it's such a fine line as far as making a call and
hmm,
or throwing a flag and not throwing a flag. But in
yeah,
circumstances like that, when it's so blatant, it's mind boggling for me to sit here and be like, well, that could have gone either way. It was clearly out of bounds. There's
oh,
there's no question
clearly,
about it. As opposed to something else on the other side of things, like you just said. Like if you see something like that, it's blatant. I mean, make the call. But if it's on that line, it's subject to the ref. So I don't blame him from those situations. Calls don't go your way all the time. But a call
yeah,
like that, I seriously, like, a call like that is so next level. And so
yeah,
and that's the thing when you think about the foundation of what Bobby wants to do. I mean, he wants to play penalty free football.
Yep.
No turnover on downs. He wants to establish a run game, and we did all those things to put us in a position to win the game. You
Yeah.
know, it just sucks because you knew those boys wanted it. You saw it from the first snap. They played their hearts out and didn't go our way.
So
And usually it's one of those things where you're like, oh well, it happens.
yeah.
But in that fashion, in that type of way, I mean, it just doesn't sell well for me, man. I feel for those boys. I was talking to a couple guys, and they were like, "This one hurt a lot," you
Yeah.
know. And I know it. You could hear it in the voice. You can tell. But it's one of those things where we're already midweek, damn near midweek. So at this point in time, it's time to move on to the next team. But just reviewing and reflecting on it from a fan perspective, it stings. It put
Yeah.
us in a tough position. Looking at the rest of the conference, I mean, we have a potential to go 9-2, but it's going to be really hard.
It's gonna
It
be an
puts us
uphill
in a
battle.
yeah, it's an
Yep.
uphill battle, and
Yeah.
obviously, I mean, that's how it's always been for the Grizz. It's always been, we were pretty consistent in a lot of ways, and then we had one bad game against the team. I'm talking about Idaho last week against a team that we should have just thrashed, and
Yeah.
then now we're playing uphill battle the whole season.
Yep.
And I think do we have a potential to make the playoffs? 100%, but
Yeah.
we have a tough schedule ahead of us to really kind of put ourselves in position to be seeded.
Well, yeah, and we can get like two things that I wanted to touch before we kind of get into like that a little bit. But
Yeah, yeah.
the end of the game, like the last play of the game, right? That where we go to a deep ball into the end zone. So roster formation, man. If we're gonna make that call, uh, ultimately, I don't know why we're making that call because we only need 8 yards to get a first down. I don't know. I don't understand why we're just not trying to get a. We already took 2 deep shots before that to get into the end zone. I don't know why you just don't get 8 yards to get another set of downs, right? That's before that. But if you're gonna do that, I don't. And this is nothing against Kellen White. He's a great wide receiver. But why wouldn't you put Simpson, who is 6'6", who is taller than the cornerback? Why don't you have that guy go for a jump ball? Then a guy that's what 6 foot, maybe 6 foot. It just like to me that doesn't make any sense, and we're not using that. That guy is 6'6". If you're wanting to jump, go for a jump ball in the corner of the end zone, my thing is I want that guy. I want that guy jumping for the ball because he's already taller than the cornerback, right? You just lob it up there.
Mm-hmm.
One of the
No,
things,
yeah, that's the tough part about it, simply because obviously they got into a rhythm of, hey, we know they're going to try to throw it deep to make a big play and
yeah,
kind of see where this plays out. That's just the type of mindset that Bobby has, but it's a little bit just uncharacteristic, of the team. We haven't been doing a whole lot of deep shots down the
no,
field. Besides,
no,
so to do it, 2-3 times in a row is a little bit kind of like, oh, that's a little bit different. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
so I just, I'm struggling to see the thought process there. I'm obviously not a coach, so because of that, I'm like, hey, you know what? I kind of agree with you in that sense of just, you know, get the first down,
yeah.
get
Well,
the
we
first down.
in that whole game we didn't have a gain over 20 yards.
Hmm.
So you leave it to the last 3 plays to get 25 yards. It just doesn't sit well with me. And then also, what got you your bread and butter? What you got you there? What
The
you leaned
running.
on was the run game.
Yeah.
You ran once. You
Yeah.
ran once, and it doesn't make any and I wasn't even mad about the passing. Like, go for it. But man, the offensive line was killing it. Osmo and Marcus Knight were killing it, and you
Hmm.
you just put them on the sideline and say, no, we're going to go past it. Where Chris Brown hasn't been really able to get into a mode of throwing the ball down the field, which all of
The
them
deep
were.
ball. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And so that made me frustrated. I did not get the play calling. It made me frustrated. I think a lot of people are out there in Grizz Nation are saying, what the heck is this play calling? Please get this situated. We don't get it. We don't get, we're fans. We don't get it. Maybe they saw something that we didn't. I can grasp that. Okay. I'm not a football connoisseur, but from couch potato eyes, it just doesn't make any sense, man. It doesn't.
Yeah, that's a tough part about it, man. In those types of situations, especially when it's so late in the game, because
Yeah.
there were times where you can tell that they made a couple of play calls to give Chris an opportunity to throw the deep ball. and he just overthrew it a couple times. It wasn't in his repertoire of weapons. And
Yeah.
that's fine. That's okay. And like you said, play to the strength of the quarterback that you have. They got into the rhythm of hey, playing a little bit under, playing through the middle, those sort of things, and having that established run game to just keep creeping, just keep creeping, just keep
Yeah.
creeping. And I think we obviously saw them score within a matter of 30, 40 seconds. And so I don't know if it did something to us to make us believe, hey, we're gonna go shot for shot for them.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was one of those things like you said, maybe the coaches saw something that we didn't that they thought they could take advantage of. Maybe a quarterback or cornerback was in a different position, lined up a little bit off. So I don't know,
Yeah.
but thinking back on it, I think if we would have trucked it, we may have had a little bit of a better chance, to steal the game. Because all we need is was one stoppage from our defense, and they're
Yep.
more than capable of doing that.
Oh yeah.
They've done that a couple times throughout the game too, against against their offense. And so we make one good stop, score a touchdown, maybe go for a field goal, those sort of things, win the game, and then it's a whole different scenario. It's a whole different celebration. It's especially in a game like that, man. So I mean, it was devastating to see. Ultimately, I do think that the refs had a big lean in that game.
Yep.
It obviously felt like Sac State was favored in a lot of ways. They did some things that I don't agree with, like the targeting call. I 100%, I'm against that and those sort of things. But when you leave it up to a game like that, like I said, the refs are never going to be on your side. For whatever
No.
reason, it just doesn't fall in Montana's ways. That's been traditional in Montana football games, and so it was just real heartbreaking to see, man. It put me in a
Yeah.
weird place because you felt for those kids, because you knew they
Oh
wanted
yeah.
it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Lucas Sem, give a shout out to him because he was doing a whole lot on Twitter. The beat reporter from the Missoulian. If you guys have Twitter, totally follow him. He's doing a lot of stuff. But uh, he said it looks like we got this, and I twittered or whatever, tweeted him like, dude, you can't say that. There's a whole lot of game to be played, and sure enough, right after that happened, they score a touchdown, and it's like, oh crap. But yeah, there's a lot of emotions, and as a fan, it's still lingering. I felt, and I told Angel this before we got on, I was just starting to feel good enough where I wasn't thinking about it. And then this morning I get on, Twitter and I look up some things, emails, whatever, and I get on Twitter and Kyle Hansen posts. Just when you feel like you feel like you're getting over it. It was on Scott Van Pelt, his late show,
Hmm.
where he did the bad beats, where they do like their betting games, where they
Yeah.
do like the over and under. And sure enough, Montana's the last one, and I think it was like they showed Montana up by 10, right? 24-14, 8 minutes left. And they show like what happened. And they're just saying, oh, you can't do that on the road and miss field goals. And you're just like, oh, crap. And
Yeah.
feelings just come back again. And you just can't get away from it, man. And I can't imagine. If I feel like that as a fan, I can't imagine what the players feel like. And my
That's something that I
question,
was thinking about today, man. What's your question? Tell me your
well,
question.
my question, Angel, as a player, right? How do you come back from that? You saw a lot of tenacity, a lot of
Hmm.
it felt like a playoff game, right? Everybody was locked in, both sides. You give so much to a game like that, and then your heart gets ripped out. And I don't know the guys. Honestly, I think they'll play great this week, but how do you come back from that? Because you have no rest, right? This week is a I wouldn't say do or die, but it is a close of enough do or
We're
die
there
game.
basically, though. Yeah.
We're there. We have to win this game. If we don't win this game, we're going to be possibly missing the playoffs if we don't go 3-0 the next game, which, like we said, I would not put that just thinking that we're going to do that because our last game is versus the Cats at the Cats. We've got to have this game. And
Hmm.
so how do you go from doing all that to coming back and playing a huge game versus number 5 Weber State?
Oh, what's I was thinking about it today, and being part of the program, I think we do a really good job understanding that it's us versus everybody, even when everybody's on our side, if that kind of makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things that Stitt kind of taught me when I was a young player was, hey, get the hell off of social media. That's step number one, because I think I'm finally in the first place in my life where, obviously, with doing the podcast, I keep up with people's comments on Facebook, on Twitter, on
Yeah.
Instagram, how people are feeling, just to get an idea of what the overall consensus is. And let me tell you this, people are brutal,
Oh,
very
yeah.
brutal.
Yeah.
I was talking to one of the former players these days. And I was like, man, if I knew people were talking about us like this during when I was playing, I would have lost my shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's one of those things that it's the end of the world for everybody, and I understand that it's a passionate fan base, but to really kind of belittle some of the guys on the team,
Yeah.
to really kind of put them into that level, I mean, it's so disheartening. It's disgusting to see. I'm not a fan of it at all,
Yeah.
and I'll have this conversation with anybody. It doesn't really matter,
Yeah.
But so I think they do a good job of understanding the reality of knowing that, hey, when the fans are good, they're good, but when they're
Mm-hmm.
bad, they are atrocious.
Yeah.
They'll knock you down, and they'll knock you farther and farther, and they'll basically help you dig the hole. You
Yeah.
know,
Yep.
and so because of that, one thing that I had an opportunity to meet one of the guys, just for a quick hello. I ran into him in passing, and it was just like, it was one of the things that, yeah, we're not on social media. None of us are really. I mean,
Good.
we'll post on Instagram, but other than that, we're not. So that's number one. I
Good.
think being surrounded by a group of men that understand what you're going through helps heal the wounds a little bit.
Yeah.
And in the game of football, Bobby does such a good job of letting people know, it's, hey, you fucked up this play. Let's go to the next one. Be
Yeah.
better the next play. There's nothing you can do about that. If we sulk in it, if we sit in it, if we cry in it, it does not matter.
Yeah.
So even though this one hurts a little bit more, and then probably some guys that, were thinking about it up until yesterday's meeting, Bobby does a good job of letting you know, hey, it's flushed out of our system. I'm not going to bring it up. Your coaches aren't going to bring it up. We're going to focus on what we can do to be better, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I do know that there's always a little bit of a refreshed mindset after that specific meeting on Monday. It lets people know that, hey, let's regroup, let's refocus. It's we can sit and sulk after the season. You
Yeah.
know,
Yep.
this is not the right time. And I think because you have that such quick turnaround, they're already focused on Weber State. That game is out of their system already. And that's just a game of football. That's the game as a player. And I think as coaches, they do a really good job of letting you know, hey, it's time to move on. So they're already focusing on Weber State. They've been doing it for a few days already. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where you have to, there's no way to do it, but you have to do it. You
Yeah.
convince yourself, you teach yourself to let you know, like, hey, you know what, you had a bad play, you had a bad snap, you had a bad game. Let's move on. There's next week, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's all we really can do, man. But staying off of social media, not being involved with any of that type of scene, I mean, it did wonders for me as a player. I know it's doing wonders for them, and it's something that we encourage. I mean, you think about the scrutiny on the next level, the NFL
Oh
level. I
man,
mean,
I can't imagine.
I can't imagine what it does to people's families and lives and mental health. And so because of that, it's one of those things. That's why you don't really see athletes like that. You see them post, what they're up to, making a big play, but you'll never see them consistently on there like that, responding, reading through the comments, because it's just not worth it. So, I mean, ultimately, heartbreaking loss, but we are in a situation where we have a huge uphill battle the rest of the year,
Yeah.
you know.
Yep.
And so because of that, we need to get shit done. They're already on it, and so I feel like I've digested that too. Be like, hey, that
Yeah.
sucked. It was heartbreaking, but I'm ready to move on and beat the shit out of Weber.
Well, and like defense, let's just kind of go over defense.
Yeah, let's
Defense
let's go, let's
played
go defense. Yeah,
defense played well, man. They totally had parts of that game where they dominated, right? Like we are liking to see where they dominated, they're attacking, and then there's parts where they bent a little bit, but they didn't break, right? They
yeah, yeah,
bent,
yeah,
and they totally played how a defense is supposed to play, right?
yeah,
And especially with this offense, you're gonna have to bend. You're gonna have to bend. You're gonna bend. There's too many assets, too many weapons on that Sacramento State team where you're just not going to be able to shut everybody down.
yeah,
And so I was really happy. Shout out to Corbin and Ford and Fouch for having those interceptions, man. Great interceptions.
yeah, yeah. That's what I was gonna say, man.
Yeah,
Congrats to Walker. That was really fun to see. It was one of
yeah,
those plays that you didn't know he really intercepted it. You thought there was like a whistle that went on or something like that. So he went up, he got it, and we took it back for a couple of yards, and that was huge to see. Nash, I mean, how
Yep.
cool was him to see? So I thought he played really well.
Yep.
I thought Ford played really well. I thought Trey John Con played pretty well too. I
Exactly.
think there was consistent pressure on that offensive line front. I mean, you can tell that he had to make decisions just a little bit quicker, or else he was gonna, and so because of that, forced a couple interceptions, forced a couple bad plays on that offensive side. Had some things that went our way, and like you said, one of the most admirable things with his defense, it was a bend don't break type of situation.
Exactly.
Just seeing that's how you have a really legit, really
Yep.
legit defense. When you
Well,
see
and
stuff like that not go their way, and it's an
mhm.
easy momentum change, and they can continuously roll over a defense. I've seen it happen before to defenses, and that's just not the characteristics, and that's not the identity of our defense.
Exactly. Well, and, Braxton Hill, he played a little bit. He's still probably trying to get back from his injury, but man,
Yeah,
Levi Janicaro balled out. Man, he had a game.
he
So
did. Yeah,
proud of him of how he's kind of filling in and taking that bigger role as the season goes on. Shout out to him as well. So, yeah, it's good to see. We know we have a good defense. That's we know that. It's just getting this offense to a point where our defense doesn't have to carry the whole load, right? And do you have anything last things for defense? And then I kind of wanted to go over special teams, just field goal unit and punting unit for just a second. Do you have anything for defense, man?
no, 100%. Like you said, I didn't even mention Levi, but he had a fantastic game. I think he was the double digit tackles.
Yep.
He played aggressive. He was everywhere, man. If you look at every single player that got tackled, he was in or around the play, which
Yeah.
is a beautiful thing to see. And again, I mean, we're just beating a dead horse. That's just the characteristics of our team, our
Yep.
defense. But I 100% agree, man. I mean, there was things that we could have done on offense to put ourselves in a better position. There was things we could have done on defense to put ourselves in a better position, and special teams as well too. And in
Yep.
a game like that, when you're playing such a juggernaut, it comes down to a game of inches, and it comes down to the refs too. And again, unfortunately, just didn't pan our way, man. So yeah,
Yeah, and the time of possession, man, we kind of flipped the switch with the Idaho game. We were 30, almost 38 minutes. Kind of flipped the switch where they did that to us. But special teams, man, we had two blocked field goals, which Rico got one of them, but missed two of them with it being blocked. Uh, Patrick keeps on balling out. He's I think some crazy number like 15 of his 28 punts have been inside the 20, something crazy like that.
yeah,
He's
yeah,
leading he's leading the Big Sky Conference in punting average, and so he's totally doing his thing there still.
yeah.
Um,
He's a Jerry Rice Award finalist or something like that, isn't he?
exactly.
Yeah,
Yep.
he's
Yep.
killing it, dude.
Killing it. And Coach Hauk also said, some of the things that they tried to do, which I think I kind of saw in some replays and stuff, where Rico was kind of going shorter, so his stride wasn't as long to get it off a little bit quicker, which I don't know if that has an effect of the how low it is, how the low the ball's coming off the foot. So, but he has said, that has to be quicker, that has to be a little bit
It's
faster.
timing, like I said in the beginning. Yeah, it's all timing. I mean, I remember
Yep.
when I played special teams unit, it was they literally have a stopwatch out there. I
Yep.
mean, said hut, and then they click it, and as soon as you kick the ball off, it's hey, that's too slow, and it's a span of it's not even seconds, it's like milliseconds. It's like
Milliseconds.
0.005 makes a difference of 100% getting blocked to kicking a field goal and getting some extra points.
Yeah.
Obviously that's been kind of our Achilles heel this past year. Our special teams units have struggled a little bit, in one way or another, and so again, it just goes back to my faith in Bobby. I think he's a good enough coach to really kind of dial it in. I just hope that as the season progressed, we've seen everybody on both sides, the offensive line, linebackers, receivers, quarterback. We've seen some growth in every single area, and I think that's where that next step kind of leads us to start chasing. To really kind of get a little bit more consistent on that special teams on the field goal. I don't know if it's blocking. I don't know if it strides. I can't speak to that, but I just do know that the timing needs to be a little bit more efficient and effective.
Yeah. Well, and to be more effective, and get to the playoffs, let's kind of go like these next four games. We've got Weber State in the next four
Yep.
games. We're Cal Poly, Eastern Washington, both at home, and then we've got Montana State. Uh, we have, and this is not to degrade the Grizz, right? We do not have a game that we have won that is against a opponent that has a winning record. Okay. So that's working against us. I like to say that we have two good losses, right? Two losses where if they play their cards right, those two teams might be battling for the Big Sky Championship if everything goes the right way. I think Sac State will probably be one of those teams battling for the Big Sky Conference Championship. But we've got to get a win versus a quality opponent. If we don't, I don't think we make the playoffs. We'd be 7-4 and not a win against a winning record team. I don't think that the selection committee would put us in. And that's to say, if we don't slip up against Eastern Washington, which is that team scares the heck out of me just because of how they throw the ball and how they can score. They're not as good this year, but they're still a team where I wouldn't put it past them to raise the bar of how they play to, stumble to make our lives a living hell. But so this game against Weber State is very important. It's a top 5 team, number 5 in the country, at their place. This is a great momentum time where we win this game. We've got 2 games where they're very winnable and we'll be favored going into that Montana State game. And so this is kind of I hate saying do or die, but this is kind of a must-win game.
Yeah, 100% it is. Like you said, man, I mean, it's a good point. I mean, when you look at the grand scheme of things, we're 2 touchdowns away from having an opportunity to be 7-0. Against some pretty formidable teams. I think Idaho's a good team. Obviously, Sac State's a great team. You got Weber, which is a pretty good team. The performance that you saw last week, don't let that fool you. They are going to be a whole different, kind of mindset, perspective, attitude this upcoming week to show the true characters. We're both coming off 2 losses, and obviously, we have 2 games in the middle there that, again, we're favored, but you just never know. It's Cal Poly, which Coach Baldwin. Obviously, he's been known to be a really good coach when he was on Eastern. You have Eastern Washington, which, time and time again, they always have a chance, for the most part. They always, again, they're not as good this year, but you just never know against that rivalry. And then obviously we're going to meet the neighbors at their place, which is a tough environment to play in, So like you said, man, I think we need to get these wins. I mean, they're absolutely must wins. I think the team knows that. I think the coaches know that. The fans know that too. People are saying, "Oh, well, if you live this way, we can go 3-0, maybe sneak into the playoffs." That's not the mindset. That's not what we want to do.
No.
We need to completely dominate. Will I say they'll do it? I'm 100% of the coaches. I mean, again, the fact that we're 2 touchdowns away from being potentially 7-0 speaks a lot to me. So I see it I'm an optimist by nature, so I see that side of things. And so because of that, puts me in a position to believe, hey, we're a good football team. We deserve to be in the playoffs and make a run for it. How it turns out in the playoffs, I mean, that's unbeknown. Is that the word? Is that the no unbeknown? Unbeknownst? What is it?
I think
it's
whatever. Unbeknownst.
Yeah, whatever the case. Yeah, I'm trying to expand. I'm trying to expand
your vocabulary.
I'm trying to expand my vocabulary these days, man.
Look at you, high class. You got some wine over there, man.
Oh man, I wish I did, but it's not going my way these days. But yeah, man, it's just I 100% believe these are all must-win games. That's just the mindset of a player. But I mean, when you look at the playoff implications, I mean, we're going to need every single one of them. And again, going into Weber State, it's not going to be an easy task. It's not like we have them at home. It's not like they're beaten down and battered. They're a good team. They just played a really uncharacteristic football game last week against the neighbors.
Well, are you ready to go into Weber
State? Let's move. We're already talking about it. Let's do it.
The thing that stood out to me, and I think everybody knows if you haven't, that Weber State, the neighbor game, 4 safeties, man. I felt bad. I felt bad. Have you seen the replay of that guy? The kid,
screaming and yelling,
the long snapper, that. I hope he is and then I'm not joking. I hope he's getting some mental side of it that he's okay, because you could see him make a mistake and then it's what's the hiccups or the GBs, or I don't know what the word is. Now the slip ups or whatever. It wasn't even close. One of those snaps, it almost went through the uprights.
They were. I mean, and that's what I saw. The first one, I was just like, oh man, something went their way, and then it happened the second time, and I was like, there's no way it's gonna happen again. a third time. And off the third time, you can tell the dude's face was red.
Oh,
I mean, I want to say that he might have shed a tear or two on the sideline because I would
oh,
have for sure,
yeah,
thinking about that. And when you think about the game and how 8 points would have got the job done for them, or
yep.
six, what was it? 8 points. It was 8 points. Yeah,
It was a
8 points. Yeah,
5 point game,
yeah,
but they got 8 points off the
yeah. They got
safety.
8 points off of it. I would have been sitting myself just honestly, just not wanting, just literally want to be. I just want to disappear right now. You
Exactly,
know. It's one of those
exactly.
things, and as a coach, it's like at that point, you miss one, you can get on him a little bit to let him know you got to do a better job. But after four, you're like, if I say anything else to you right now, I'm just gonna break your spirit, and I just can't be the one to do it.
Oh,
That's what
exactly.
a good, and
Well,
especially with Coach Jay. I mean, I know he's a good coach traditionally, and just
yeah,
because I know he's not that type of guy to be like, hey, you got to get your shit together, and just start really
yeah.
kind of getting on his ass. And so that's where I applaud him. I think he's the right coach to help a situation like that. When
Hmm.
it comes down to it. But man, I do hope that kid's okay. I was thinking that the whole
Oh
time
man,
because you saw it blow up everywhere,
yeah,
everywhere. You saw
everywhere. Yep,
ESPN, you saw
yep,
Sports Center, you saw tabloids, you saw everybody, and
yep,
NCAA, all of college football record.
yeah,
And he holds forever that record. Until
yeah,
somebody else does it, but I mean, probably not going to be for a long time. So again, I mean, I hope for the best, man. But it's
yeah,
one of those things. It's either going to go one of two ways. He's either going to have the game of his life next week
yeah,
against us, to perfection,
yeah,
or he's going to be in that little funk, that kind of weird phase where he needs to, he's gonna be a little bit nervous, a little bit scared.
yeah,
And I think that's one of two ways where potentially we may have an advantage over him simply
yeah,
because he performed. It might be in his head about it. But
yeah.
at the end of the day, it might be the other end of the script too. I don't think there's going to be in between. He's going to have some good plays, some bad plays. I think he's going to be either completely spot on, or he's going to have a really rough day again.
Exactly. I think so too. Well, let's go into Weber State, man. They are 6-1, 2-1 in the conference. Go down some of their games. They won 41-5 against Western Oregon,
Mm-hmm.
35-7. A brutal mauling of Utah State at Utah State. Uh, 44-13 against Utah Tech. 17-12 against UC Davis. A 41-21 whooping against Eastern Washington, 42-7 against Portland State, and then last week was their first loss against the Cats, 38-43, which ultimately they were right in to the end of the game. Uh, they have the number one scoring defense in the league. They've got the number
Mm-hmm.
three scoring offense in the league. They've got a preseason offensive tackle. I'm going to get his name right. Noah Otog, Atogi, something. I'm gonna mess his
Mm-hmm.
name up. So they've got some good guys. They've got a QB Bronson Barron, 123 of 196. He's the third best in the conference with efficiency, 15 and 85 yards, 12 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He's also got about 208 rushing yards with 1 touchdown. So he's able to move. I don't think he wants to move like that. That's not the first instinct that he has. He's not like McCoy from Idaho where he's like, okay, I'm gonna run. I don't think that's the first thing that happens, but they do have a beast of a running back duo. Damian Bankston, 77 attempts for 422 yards, 5 touchdowns. Dante McMillan, 46 attempts, 339 yards with 4 touchdowns. And like the guy that seems like he's been there forever, Josh Davis, 72 attempts, 338 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He did not play against the Cats last week. He was not in that game. So don't know his situation on what's going to happen. They do like to run the ball. They're probably about third in the conference with rushing, behind Montana State and Idaho. So that's probably what they're going to do. They want to do, but what we have to be aware of, guys, is they are going to throw the ball deep because they have two deep threats as well. With
Mm-hmm.
Ty McPherson, who's number 4 in the conference in receiving yards, with 30
By the
receptions.
way, did you see the
Yeah,
drop from McPherson?
no, I
Oh,
didn't.
oh my goodness! they were trucking down the field. They
Yeah,
were potentially going to win the game. And then McPherson, it's like a fourth down, attempt. He's in the first down territory. He chucks it right at McPherson. McPherson uncharacteristic. It just didn't give a good picture of what the Weber State team is. So
Mm-hmm.
people may have this idea right now of who they are. People don't know that guy is extremely talented. He had
Yeah.
the ball, dropped it. I mean, clear as day, right in the chest, hit him right in the chest. Doosh, fell to the ground. He tried to catch it with his ankle, and that was the game for them. But
Wow.
he is a threat. I think he's going to be a guy that we need to look out for next week. I think I completely agree. Obviously,
Yeah.
they are a physical team. That's traditionally how this team has been, especially under their current head coach. It's always been fun to play them. I've always enjoyed it, but it was always a battle. It was one of those games where I left the game being like, okay, I'm a little bit bruised and battered, a little bit more than I traditionally am, simply because that's just the type of the defense that they are. They're traditionally a great defense. I won't say that they're as good this year as they
Mm-hmm.
have been in other years, in my opinion. But I do think that they're pretty stout. I do think that they got abilities all over the field, to make it a close game, and especially coming off a loss like that, which is so heartbreaking. They had a huge lead, kind of
Yeah.
like us, a little bit of a big lead. They came back all the way off special teams mistakes, and it ended up being that just they weren't able to kind of get it through. So they're in the same boat as we are right now. They're dealing
Yeah.
with some really tough losses, some really hard things to look in the mirror when they got home. But so that's why I think it's going to be a good game. It's going to be a good game. It's going to be physical on both sides, and we're going to see where it rolls from there.
Well, and like I said, Ty McPherson, 570 yards, 7 touchdowns,
Yeah,
and then they have Jacob Sharp, who's got 416 yards. So they've got two deep threats where they probably, they like to set up the run and then they
yeah.
take their deep shots, man. And what's kind of interesting is like you said, they had the uncharacteristic a loss. They made some mistakes. One thing that our teams kind of mirror image each other, right? Good
Yeah.
offenses, really good defenses. Like, and I totally agree with you. Their defense isn't as good as it has been. Usually they have a defensive line and linebackers that are amazing, right? Their strength in their defense this year is their backfield. They've got
Mm-hmm.
cornerbacks. They have a cornerback that has 5 interceptions, man. His name is Maxwell Anderson. He's got 5 interceptions. They lead the conference. Their defense leads the conference in interceptions with 13.
That's
And so,
crazy.
they are a backfield which can turn you over, which that's kind of it's disheartening because hopefully Lucas is okay and he can come back, because the one thing that we saw in that Montana State game is Malott tore them up running the ball,
Mm-hmm.
tore them up. And so if that's truly who they are, then that leads to us, if we have Lucas back, to have that running kind of quarterback where we don't always have to throw it and get it possibly intercepted, because they've got that kind of in their repertoire of what they like to do. But yeah, defense pretty good. Special teams, man, they've got some special team threats. They've got the number one kick returner in the conference. I don't think he's the number one, but I think that's kind of skewed. But with data, he
Mm-hmm.
is. Abraham Williams, 7 attempts, 321 yards. He's averaging about 45 yards a kick return. He's got 2 touchdowns. Both of them are 100-yard returns, one against Eastern Washington, one against Montana State. Punt return. This is kind of the weird one because they have 2 punt returners, and one of them, has had the majority of the goes, but they had Hudson Schneck do them last week, which he turned one for 91 yards and a touchdown. And so who gets those reps? I think they'd probably lean on Hudson, but they've got the number 3 conference punt return as well. So special teams, they're good. Their field goal kicker is pretty good as well. He's number 2 in the conference. Kyle Thompson, 10 of 14, 74%. His long is 49 yards. So, they're overall a rounded team.
Yeah.
Special teams, I would say that they probably have the advantage against us right now. They're not, and the reason why I say that is we know they're not going to kick to Malik, right? We know that. We don't know if Bergen's going to be back, right? And we forgot to mention this last. The loss wasn't probably it hurt, but we lost a couple guys.
Yeah, we did.
Deary Todd went out. Lucas Johnson went out. I believe Joey Elwell went out as well. Junior Bergen went out. Eli Alford went out. And so it's going to be really interesting to see who's back, who's at, a good enough percentage of playing. I would be really surprised if Junior Bergen came back. It looked like he either broke a finger or dislocated a finger. And so I don't know, with being a wide receiver, how you're using your hands constantly, man. I don't know how that's going to go. But yeah, what are your thoughts? I'm kind of taking the whole pod here, man, on this section, kind of going through the numbers, but
no, 100%, man. That's why you're the numbers guys. I'm just here for support at this point, man. So, no, 100%, man. I think you made a good point. Kind of early on in this conversation, you said, we're traditionally, pretty evenly matched up.
Yeah.
Stout defenses. I do think when it comes to defense, I think we have the advantage. I think consistency, I think they have the advantage. But I do believe that if we get everything kind of firing on the right cylinders, I do think that we have a little bit more of a prolific offense in order to put them in a position to win games. Special teams, it sounds like they got some players too. So because of that, I think Bobby's going to fight fire with fire. I think he's going to, do whatever's best for the team simply because he believes in our special teams unit, simply because that's his bread and butter. So because of that, I just think there's a different level of confidence when it comes to challenging other teams. And he's going to let you know, he's like, okay, let's really see how good your special teams are put up against mine, which is always a fun thing to do. It fires keepers up. It fires the players up because he lets us know, he says, fuck that, we're going to go after them. Let's go do it. You know what I mean? And so because of that, I think really, kind of looking at the keys to the win, I think it's going to be another game where I really want to see the offensive line excel. Because if we could establish a run game, that's going to be huge for regardless of who's in. But let's just say, worst case scenario, we have to put Chris back there. It's going to be a situation where we're going to have to really rely on that run game in order to, put us in a position to win the games. As far as the backfield, with Chris's ability, it might be a little bit of a challenge. Simply because they do have that potential. They have 13 interceptions, which is a crazy number to have right now. Jesus. Yeah.
Well, one guy has almost half of them.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it kind of makes me think of obviously Ford last year with his 9 interceptions running into playoffs, so because of that, he's really going to need to be on point regardless of who's back there. Getting away with overthrowing the ball or underthrowing the ball, that's not going to happen this week simply because they'll take advantage of that. And they'll score points off of that. Their offense is good enough. And so being able to stop that, I think, is going to be huge. I think we did an awesome job playing penalty free for the most part. I think that's going to be another key. And then obviously, like I said, running the ball, play penalty free, no turnovers. If we have no turnovers, your chances of winning the game it's obvious you have a better opportunity. But if we really focus and hounding in on those kind of basic parameters, I think we have a really good shot of winning the team, especially, after this past week, because they've dealt with it for 1 week. We've been dealing with it for 2 weeks.
2 weeks in a row. Yeah. Well,
so I know these guys are ready for a win.
Exactly. One thing that, Jay Hill, coach for Weber State, he prides in himself in special teams as well. And one thing that he uses and it keeps on flashing back to me, and I'm going to get some PTSD for you, is that 2019 playoff game where I think this is the first time we've played them since then, right?
I believe so. Yeah, we didn't play them last year.
No.
Yeah.
So in that game, and what they like to do is they like to use field position against us, right? And so I think that's what they're going to try to do is use the field position against us, get us pinned back so that they can, blitz us and get those interceptions with their DBs. And so it'll be really interesting to see. I could see Bobby doing that as well, using Patrick and having this be a low scoring game and it just being a field position game in an old, hey, we're going to run it down your throat. You try to run it down our throat. Position battle, very low scoring. It's going to be really interesting. It's going to be really interesting. I can't wait to watch. I hope everybody gets healthy this week. I just think, and you tell me, I don't think we matching up wise. I feel like we matched up better against Sac State than we did against Weber State.
Oh, 100%. I was just talking about the grand scheme of
Yeah,
things, you know. I
yeah,
did I think we have the better defense. I think when we're on the offensive side, I think we have far and away the better offense as well too.
yeah,
Special teams, I think they do have the leg up on us just because of a little bit of the inconsistencies that we've had on special teams.
yeah,
But ultimately, you know, I think we match up, you know, a lot more consistently with Sac State as we do Weber State in this year. But again, traditionally, I mean, those guys love playing us. I
yeah,
mean, it's a different type of feel for them. It's their Super Bowl. It's and a win against us is a huge accomplishment in the season. It's like we're the rival, but we're not. They're they're not our rival, but we're their rival. If that makes
yeah. It's
sense.
everybody. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So because of that, I mean, I think you hit it spot on, man. I think position, position. That's going to be the really key
yeah,
for this upcoming week. So it's a little bit of a challenge on Bobby to get the special teams a little bit more lined out for this upcoming week. It's a little bit of a challenge for the offensive line to know, hey, this is going to be a nasty game, so we need that same effort, that same intensity that we had last week. And if we're able to do that, I think we'll consistently just be able to wear them out because you saw last week. I mean, they were
oh,
defeated.
yep,
They were defeated on the ground. Especially if we have Lucas back there. Making some plays where he can make some. Gain a couple yards. Based on what he sees, I think we can take advantage of that, exploit that a little bit, and kind of run with that same system. As far as what happened last week. Take
yeah.
advantage of those same flaws.
Exactly. Yeah, let's go into their defense a little bit. Their leading tacklers, Winston Reed, 52 tackles, 4.5 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 1 interception. Their safety, Desmond Williams, 41 tackles. He's got also an interception. Garrett Beck, their other linebacker, has got 40 tackles, 2 sacks, and an interception. Their other cornerback, Eddie Heckard, has 33 tackles, a sack, 2 interceptions. Other cornerback, Maxwell Anderson, has 24 tackles, 1.5 tackles for loss, 5 interceptions, but he also has 2 blocked field goals. And so that'll be a
Hmm.
guy to kind of interesting to see how he plays into the special teams as well.
Oh yeah,
Um,
100%. Yeah.
so, but man, they're the number one passing defense. They're the number 4 rushing defense, which I think is kind of interesting because they led a whole bunch of rushing yards last week to Tommy in that team. So, in that game kind of is skewed a little bit because they got a lot of points off of their special teams. They had 2 special teams touchdowns. So, 14 of their 38 were, off of special teams. And
Hmm.
so it'll be interesting to see what happens with this game.
Hmm.
We've got to play our best. There's no playing 2 or 3 quarters. We've got to have our best from the remainder of the season if we want to make the playoffs. We've got to prove a lot of people wrong. It's us against the world, and I
Hmm.
think they know that. And we've got to support the Grizz players and Grizz Nation support everybody, and let's just get a win, man.
Yeah, 100%, man. And just thinking about their offense, I think they do a pretty good job of just consistently taking it down the field. I think
Yep.
that's one thing that I saw last week. That regardless of it, I think their offense this year is a little bit more of the identity of the team. They
Mm-hmm.
have a pretty good defense, and I'm just going based off one game. But for what I saw last week, that quarterback's good. He makes smart decisions. He gets the ball downfield, and there were plenty of times where it was simply receivers dropping the ball. You
Yeah.
know, so those incompleted passes you may see on his stat line. I don't really count it towards him simply because he gave them opportunity to catch the ball and they literally hit the chest, fell down, right off the fingertips. They just couldn't come down with it, those sort of
Yeah.
things. And so because of that, I'm really anticipating a really good quarterback. Potentially, I think right under the caliber of what Idaho produced. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously, what's his name? The Idaho quarterback.
McCoy.
McCoy, yeah, I thought he was pretty spectacular to see. I think this quarterback's just going to be a leg under that. I think he's going to be consistent. I think he's going to be on point, especially following last week's game. And I think it's going to be a challenge for our secondary this upcoming week. The because we already know what we're going to do on the front. We're going to pressure. We're going to pressure. We're going to pressure blitz packages and those sort of things. And so I think taking advantage of our secondary is going to be a challenge for us to really kind of make sure that we're up to par. I think the offensive line side of things, or just the offensive side of things, I think we make the smart plays, get the yards when you can, time of possession, those sort of things, and I think we'll have a really good chance. I do think, again, hopefully, God willing, special teams kind of gets in order simply because if they scored 2 touchdowns off special teams mistakes last week, they're going to do it again this week easily,
Yeah.
And so it's a game, like you said, a game of positioning, and that's what it really boils down to.
Exactly. How do you feel, man? Are you ready to give your predictions? What do you want to do? How you feeling?
You go first. I went first last week. We're not going to count
Yeah.
it again because it was a loss, but
Yes.
you get to start off.
I know. If the Grizz would have won, I would have won that. I just want to say, if the Grizz would have won, I would have won that one. So just because I got to toot my horn because I didn't get it.
No. You can't all of a sudden want to toot your horn when last week you're like,
hey,
you know what? Maybe we shouldn't count that one.
No, I'm 0-4. I got to get some momentum. Even though we're not counting it, I've got to get some momentum.
How dare you, Adam? How dare you? Well, if we would have won last week, I technically would have won. We should count this week.
I gotta get something going. So I think Grizz walk in and we play our best ball. I think we control the ball. I think we run it like how we did this last game. 24-17 Grizz by a touchdown. And so that's where I'm going.
That's funny. I was literally going to say 23-17.
Really?
I really was.
Interesting. You want 23-17?
That's what if that's fine with you. I was going to say 23-17.
Yeah, that's fine. 23-17 and I'm 24-17. Okay.
All right, let's do it.
Man.
Not a whole lot of margin for
there isn't.
It's one way or the other, baby. There's no in between.
Exactly. Either you win or I win on that one. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, hopefully we can come out on a better one that we did this week, guys. But we totally are thankful for you guys. I'm off my rocker, man. We do have some questions. I'm not going to read one of these because it's a cat fan. I believe, but maybe it's not a cat fan because it has a bobcat thing where it's okay. So he's just giving us crap about our name. So why are you still using that "Fight On" slogan? Back when we had Moxie, we didn't use it. Only when the California boys came back did we start. And just look what happened. Don't be a bootlicker.
Well, what do you mean? We consistently use it. I mean, that's something that's part of, Bobby Houck's, kind of whole mantra.
Exactly.
It's fight on, go Grizz, fight on. It's back and forth. It's just one of those things. So, I mean, it makes completely sense. So if this person would have actually known that it's actually part of the mantra of what Grizz football it is, maybe you'd have a different opinion. But maybe they're just not up to date with the current stand. I mean, that's totally fine, man.
And if you're talking about the name of the podcast, I had no clue that Fight On was a thing when I named the podcast.
So, I mean, that's
Fight On Montana was just something that I was going after with, Montana. We play tough. We're, blue collar. That's where I was kind of going off of the name of the podcast. If you're going,
I mean, I'm curious. What would this guy name it, man? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I mean, there's really, I don't know, man. I think it's a beautiful name, dog, to be honest with you. And it's something that, every single day during practice when Bobby would walk by or somebody would walk by in the hallways, fight on, go Grizz,
Yep.
Go Grizz, fight on. It's either way. And so because of that, it was just part of the mantra. It makes sense. So that's why, if it was an issue, I would have told you when I first met you, hey man, maybe we should change the name because it doesn't fit what we're looking at, but it does. So that's a little bit of a weird one, man. But maybe that guy needs to come on the podcast and, run the show for us.
Exactly. Our faithful Beware of the D man gives us another question. I don't know about you guys, but I feel significantly better after the loss as opposed to last week's loss. I totally agree. I think without LJ injury and the terrible officiating, we win that game. However, we continue to shoot ourselves in the foot nonetheless. I'm going to play the Fire Rosenbach card again. What kind of play calling was that in overtime? And I think we kind of went over that as well. I understand KB ain't it, but throwing deep did not work the whole game. Why not call plays where KB can actually make the throw?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, we spoke about it a little bit. Just the consistency of playing to his game, I
Yep.
think should have been, a decision that was made in that overtime. Because at that point you already have your full script on the potential overtime kind of game plan. But I think those deep balls, just wasn't his repertoire. Well, I mean,
No.
wasn't his package. He just. I don't think it was the right way to utilize a quarterback of that type of caliber.
Yep.
I think he has certain strength that I think we saw flashes of okay, he's getting a little bit of a rhythm, a little bit of a groove, and I just hope that moving forward they play to the strength if we have to make a change a little bit. So either way, man, I'm proud of the performance of everybody. I really truly
Yep.
am, man. But where the D, man. Thanks for always being so consistent with us, man. I really
Man.
appreciate it, man.
Exactly.
I think you provide some really good insight. I do feel better about the win too. I do wholeheartedly believe that
Yep.
if some things were a little bit different, the game would 100% fell on our way.
Yeah.
And that's all I can hope for this week.
Man, yeah, and I totally, I echo that, Angel, as well. Totally agree that I feel better. I feel better in the fact of the way that we played. I don't feel better that
Mm-hmm.
we lost again. That hurt. But I do feel I can find more. Um, it's not half cup empty. It's we've got a half cup, whatever that saying is. But I can kind of see the good in it. Our offensive line's clicking, our defense is clicking. Our running backs are sure hitting good stride right now. So I can kind of see the good in it, and where we're at. Like you said, Angel, we kind of already talked about the play calling. We really didn't agree with it and how it affected Chris. Sorry. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens this week. It's do or die time, and we got to do something now, or we're going to be on the outside looking in.
100%, man. And I believe that we get it done. There's no doubt in my mind. I believe in the
Exactly.
players. I believe in the coaches. I think like I said, I'm an optimistic person by trait. That's just who I am. And so because of that, I'm really expecting some really good things the last few weeks of the season.
Yep.
4 week, damn, that's crazy. 4 weeks of the season left.
Crazy,
And then
isn't it?
from there, the games to remember, they're played in November. So,
Yep.
and then playoff implications. And so I feel really hopeful, really optimistic, man. I just can't wait to see it, get it done.
Exactly. Guys, we thank you for listening, taking the time to listen to us. Like always, rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast wherever you get your podcast. Apple and Spotify are great places. Check us out on Twitter and Instagram. Also, check us out on the FCS Fans Nation YouTube channel. Great stuff that they're doing. Great atmosphere, great fans, great podcasts as well. Go check us out there. And get a hold of us, man. Get a hold of us on eGriz. We post our stuff on there. We post our stuff on our social media. So get a hold of us there. We want to hear from you. We want to interact with you as well. And so, yeah, like always, man. Any final thoughts?
Go Grizz, baby.
Fight on.
There you go.